Hi, often people ask me how I got into Rolfing and what inspired me to become a Rolfer. And my story was that when I was in my 30s, I was teaching performing classical guitar. Spent maybe 5 or 6 hours a day holding a guitar, hunched over a guitar, and just through repetitive use developed a problem with my ring finger. And initially I went the medical route. I took anti-inflammatory pills and I put a splint on my finger. Theory was that maybe I had a pinched nerve and that this would help with that. 10 days later I took the splint off. My finger was quite a bit better. But I was stupid and I moved some furniture around for my wife that day. Woke up the next morning to go play a job and my finger was paralyzed. Didn't hurt, but it wouldn't move at all. And I just happened to be talking to my brother that morning, who was going to a Rolfer for some problems. I knew nothing about this work, but I just had a gut feeling that I ought to check into this. So I went to the Rolfer, and he worked with my arms, shoulders, hands for about 3 sessions. Afterwards, I felt like my hands were brand new, had never been abused. So it made performing guitar so much easier. It was effortless just to sit and hold the guitar and use my hands without any strain at all. Then about a year later, I picked my wife's grandmother up out of a wheelchair, and something popped in my low back. Didn't hurt, but the more I did, the tighter I got. I went through a couple of different types of therapies. It was kind of like putting a Band-Aid on the problem. Didn't really correct things. So then I went back to the Rolfer and went through a full series of sessions in which he began to really work on every part of my body. And it was at that point that for me, Rolfing was kind of like a religious experience. All sorts of things began to open up. I felt almost as if I had been sleepwalking for several years, as if life itself had just kind of weighted me down, and I just felt small and just kind of moving along. And after going through the Rolfing process, things just really began to open up and blossom. And energy levels began to increase. After the very first session of going through the series, I woke up on Saturday morning. Usually I'd sleep maybe till 7 or 8 on Saturday. I woke up, got out of bed at 6 in the morning because I felt too good to lay in bed anymore. And my flexibility was so much greater that things like playing tennis and doing any kind of sport activity was a real joy because it felt so easy. I sort of felt like I was a little kid again, which was great to feel when you're 30 years old.
Well, I think I'm the only one in the group whose children have been done. The youngest one is a boy. He was far more emotional than any of the children. And after he had a particularly traumatic session in Rolfing, the next day he came home and he was joyful and happy and free and running. And, it was like everything had been released all at the same time.
So if you are ready for more balance in your body and your life, and less pain, I'm confident that Rolfing can help you. So give me a call or go to my website. How does that sound?